Hello and welcome to KnightHunter Books. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, although it seems to be every other video these days, where we're going to do a little bit of a mini haul and also wrap up or talk about an event that we went to recently. So the event was at Blackwells Bookshop in Oxford, which is like a mini chain, kind of UK based, which has been around a very long time.
Certainly a few years ago I would have thought that they were mostly an academic publisher, but actually certainly the big one in Oxford has quite a good SF&F section, possibly due to all the fantasy authors that were traditionally based around Oxford.
Although we'd been in a few times before, Oxford's not that far from us. Actually, I realised in their main bookshop, I had never been downstairs. When we went to this event, we were led downstairs, and I think my jaw dropped, because their non-fiction section just extends under the road, under other shops, and then joins up with one of their other bookshops a bit further down. So we definitely might have to go back when we've got a bit more time and have a proper explore.
The event we actually saw advertised on Twitter. They were asking for book bloggers, luminaries and influencers to email them and ask for tickets. I can only assume that they were running a bit low on luminaries and influencers because we got tickets.
Yes.
They seemed a little embarrassed almost about the fact that they were there to sell books, which was honestly quite sweet. This was held 2 days before Super Thursday, when, hundreds of books are released. And at least one of the books plugged was published in the mid-70s.
Yeah.
These were not people, desperately trying to push the newest and greatest thing.
Yeah, so the format of the evening, which was actually quite nice, was they just had their booksellers pick some of their favourite books that they really wanted to talk about and stand up on stage and do a really quick plug of them, which, funnily enough, is what they're all really good at, being booksellers.
In fact, it made me think it would be quite nice to see at a con. Actually, it would be quite interesting to see booksellers up on stage doing what they do, because, frankly, they're specialists, and, that's what it's nice to go to events to see, is specialists doing their thing.
First, we're going to talk about some books that we've just picked up recently, because we haven't done a haul in a while. So the first of these is Doctrine, Essays for Dissenting Adults by Laurie. Laurie is a journalist and writer who I've been following online for quite a while. I've never read a book of essays before, so we'll see how I get on with it. But it might be fun if I do like it, because then there's a whole new range of books out there for me. This was published last year, and I know her essays do kind of skew on the contemporary political kind of spaces, so I'm expecting this to be reasonably up-to-date, which is useful. Covering things like online harassment, the transgender rights movement, and Trump and the far right's rise to power.
Whereas my first book is something that hopefully should allow me to completely forget about current politics for a few hours. This is Space Opera by Catherynne Valente, which arose from a joke on Twitter. This is set in a galaxy recently devastated by the Sentience Wars, and they've set something up. So to bring everybody together and establish some sort of ground rules around who are people. And humanity are newly on the scene. We've been detected, and we are invited to attend their basically Eurovision in space. No pressure, but if we get nil point, then the human race will be painlessly eradicated, and the Earth left for somebody who can carry a tune.
Let's hope humanity has more luck than the UK then.
Yes, quite.
So one thing we didn't realise until we explored Blackwells a little more was that their graphic novel section is in their separate building for art and posters. I'm very pleased that we did discover this, because they had a copy of the second volume of Monstress, which is called The Blood, by Marjorie and Takeda. For anyone that's seen our most recent wrap-up, you will know that I've recently read the first volume and really loved it. So, frankly, I'm impressed I haven't read this already, despite it being in my possession for over 24 hours.
As we left the Blackwells Presents event, we were given a goodie bag, which was very nice of them.
A very nice goodie bag, because it adds to our collection of bookish totes.
Which contained a couple of uncorrected proofs, which I don't think are a different thing to ARCs, but I couldn't guarantee that. First of which is The Old Drift by Namwali Serpell, which looks, well, apart from daunting, it looks like a really interesting read. It's due to be published on the 21st of March 2019. I don't know much about this. I suspect in part because it's going to be published as mainstream fiction by Vintage, when, to be honest, looking at the cover copy, it could equally have been published as genre fiction. I'm just going to read you a little bit of the front jacket copy because I think it's quite good and I know next to nothing about it. From a woman covered with hair and another plagued with endless tears, to forbidden love affairs and fiery political ones, to homegrown technological marvels like Afronauts, microdrones and viral vaccines, this gripping, unforgettable novel sweeps over the years and the globe, subverting expectations along the way. Exploding with colour and energy, The Old Drift is a testament to our yearning to create and cross borders, and a meditation on the slow, grand passage of time. This is actually less daunting than it looks, because unless it does something really weird with page counts, it's under 600 pages.
The other uncorrected proof that we got in our goodie bag was Dream Sequence by Foulds, who is an award-winning writer, but I think who mainly writes in the kind of literary space. Unfortunately, I did get quite excited about this cover, but it is not as spacey as it looks. This book does actually sound quite contemporary, in a good way, in that it actually seems to deal with how celebrity has changed with modern technology. There's a little bit on the back that says, Dream Sequence explores what it is to live at our current moment, with its porous borders between the inner and the outer life, and is a stunning, terrifying drama about psychological damage, stalking, and the perils of celebrity. This is due out on the 31st of January 2019, and is actually only 200 pages, so more likely to just give this a go. We did also get a kind of few other kind of random leaflets, magazines and things like that, along with this lovely print here. This is from a book called The Dam by David Almond, illustrated by Levi Pinfold, and looks like a beautiful picture book for adults and children.
A father and his daughter make one last visit to a town due to be flooded when a dam is finally constructed.
So that's all of the stuff that we actually got our hands on. We're going to next talk about a few of the books that the booksellers talked about that particularly caught our attention.
The first is a book called Curiosity about the Mars rover. The art on this is absolutely stunning.
The bookseller talking about this did also say that it doesn't kind of condescend too much to children. It does have some of the kind of science in there. Another absolutely beautiful book that is not out yet is Frostfire by Jamie Smith, which follows, from what I remember, a young girl in a kind of middle grade story going on a quest that's a little bit different in that it's set in Tibet. However, this isn't own voices, so I think it's one that we will maybe look out to see what other people think of it. But oh my god, that cover.
One book that I think was an interesting choice for the crowd in question was 10 Arguments for Deleting Social Media by J. Leno, which the bookseller in question had found pretty persuasive and actually caused him to significantly reduce his online presence. I'm not sure he was ever going to convince anybody in the audience to do that. But
I'm a little bit convinced that it might be interesting.
But certainly it gave you an idea of how convinced he was that it was a very good book, that he was prepared to try and pitch an audience so intrinsically opposed to it.
Another middle grade that they talked about, there were some very persuasive people who worked in the children's department, was Front Desk by Kelly Yang, which is currently out, I think, in hardback. We are not in the habit of buying hardback middle grades, especially considering how long it would take us to read them. This looks very cute and very important. in that it follows a child who is a recent immigrant with her family to the US from China, and her family work in a hotel. Her parents are cleaners, I think, and she is told to look after the front desk. I think the drama in this story comes from when her family try to help some undocumented immigrants and try and keep this secret from the owner of the hotel. So those were the ones that excited us the most, which we can actually see ourselves picking up at some point in the future. Let us know if any of those have sparked your interest, either the books we've hauled or the others. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.